Now, the Bank of Namibia will take on the sole responsibility for licensing and regulating payment service providers, ending its shared role with the Payments Association of Namibia, BoN. To share more details on this matter is Henock Shilongo, the Acting Deputy Director for National Payment System Department at the Bank of Namibia. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, what led to the decision for the Bank of Namibia to take on the sole responsibility for regulating payment service providers?
Right, so before I get into that, maybe I can explain what a payment service provider is.
Right.
So apart from banks, a payment service provider is a non-bank that enable a payment process, right? So payment service providers provide services to banks to enable banks to allow its clients to get money and pay money, and they also enable merchants, shops to have online presence, so like e-commerce shops. So payment service providers are the guys at the back of the screen that allow shops to accept card payments. We also have payment service providers that issue e-money apart from the non-banks. So with the previous law, the Bank of Namibia only licensed and regulated e-money issuers and payment instrument issuers, right? And the Payments Association of Namibia was responsible for licensing and regulating the payment service providers that provide e-commerce services, like I explained.
Right.
So with the introduction of the new law, the Payment System Management Act 14 of 2023, this law has consolidated the powers to regulate all payment service providers and given the mandate to the Bank of Namibia. So going forward, the Bank of Namibia will license and regulate all payment service providers, and this is really to remove that obstacle of having to deal with two regulators if you want to provide payment services that are listed in the new law.
So how will this then change, or how will this change impact the overall payment services industry in Namibia?
So the change will definitely enable a level playing field, because in the past, service providers were limited to a license they are given by one of the regulators. So if you are given a license by Bank of Namibia, you cannot provide any other type of service that's authorized by PAN. So with a new law, this opens up the playing field so that a service provider can provide any type of service by only obtaining one license from the Bank of Namibia. And we believe that this will enable service providers to provide much needed services to our nation, as well as modernize our national payment system.
So what you are saying is that there will be changes now in the licensing process or the regulations for payment service providers with this transaction?
Yes, so there will definitely be changes. So the new law has requirements for the licensing and regulation of payment service providers. We are also in the process of revising some of our regulations to align to the new law. We also intend to see, a host of service providers mushrooming because of this new change. It's very important because, the public is always asking for similar services to the likes of PayPal. So these are the type of payment services that, these entities can provide for the Namibian people.
Right. So are there specific goals or objectives that the Bank of Namibia aims to achieve with this new responsibility?
Yes, so as mentioned before, one of the goals is to enable a level playing field among all service providers. It also allows service providers to compete with banks, which is not always the case. The other goal is also for us to enhance financial inclusion by allowing these service providers to provide affordable payment services, because we all know how expensive, making a payment and withdrawing money and sending money can be. And one of the goals is also to ensure that the Bank of Namibia's approach is in line with international best practices.
I think a lot of people are concerned about safety issues. What measures are in place to ensure that continued safety and security of payment services in Namibia with this shift in regulation is ensured?
Right. So with the new Payment System Management Act, it was recently promulgated in 2023. It became effective in August, the 8th of August. So with this new law, the bank has a strong legal base to regulate and oversee these payment service providers. The bank is also having a sound, subordinate regulations to support the operation of this law, which the bank continues to update and ensure that it remains relevant. The bank has also internal policies and procedures that enable it to ensure that the national payment system remains safe and secure.
And what should payment service providers and businesses in the payment industry be aware of in light of this new change?
Well, so they should be aware of that there is now only one regulatory authority in the national payment system, which is the Bank of Namibia. The Payments Association of Namibia is no longer a regulator, but now a collaborative platform that enables its members to set the rules and technical standards when they are interacting with each other. They should also know that the bank has, or the bank is in the process of revising its regulations to make the process of licensing and regulating payment service providers a bit more efficient.
And perhaps in closing, how can the public then stay informed about updates and changes that are related to the regulation of payment service providers in the country?
So the public is advised to visit the Bank of Namibia's website. The public is also advised to follow the Bank of Namibia on all its social media platforms, that is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to keep up to date with latest developments around this space, and also tuning into news every time the bank makes announcements in changes in its regulatory regime.
Well, let me thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you coming here to talk to us about that.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Well, that has, of course, been Henock Shilongo, who is the Acting Deputy Director for Namibia Payment Systems Department at the Bank of Namibia. He has been talking to us there about the decision that the bank has taken to take the sole responsibility for licensing and regulating payment service providers, ending, of course, its shared role with the Payments Association of Namibia. We'll be back with more after this short break. Don't go away.